Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. If you're working towards financial freedom, sometimes you're going to hit roadblocks or things that are barriers to entry to that doing anything you want. And every now and then I have somebody say, I would never want to retire early because the thought of doing nothing terrifies me. If you have the option to do anything and all you can come up with is nothing, maybe you're not the type of person who should retire early. So what I have here today is my two friends, Matt, the lumberjack landlord, and Michael Zuber from One Rental at a Time. And I want to talk to them because two of us have reached financial freedom. One of us made some mistakes. One of us is actually lazy enough to probably do nothing forever and be fine with it. And the other is going to be retiring soon.
But not today.
I watch a YouTube channel here with a guy named Joe Kuhn, Kuhn, and he mentions this often, that when you retire, it's very important that you retire to something, not from something. If you need to retire from something and you just hate your job, change jobs. Let's start with Mike. You first started investing in stocks, got kicked in the teeth by the dot-com crash, basically, and some fraud at the time, basically. Got into real estate, invested for a couple of decades. At about the 15-year mark, you reached financial freedom. Tell us how that transition went.
Yeah, so this is a what not to do story. So if you catch our journey about year 12, my wife Olivia retires. She knows what she's going to do. She's painting, volunteering. She's doing exactly what she envisioned doing, and frankly, still doing all those fun things. I tell myself, for no other reason than 50 is a nice round number, that I'm going to work till I'm 50 because I love my job. I would have done it for free. I just had fun every day. I was very good at it. My ego was wrapped in it. I was doing things that very few other people could do. And I always tell people, I'm going to go till I'm 50, till I'm 50. In my line of career, every year things change. It's a commission-based program. You get a new patch, you get new teams, you get new products, you get new quotas. Every year, 12 months, clockwork. So I was going to work on such a day, ahead of time. When you get to be really good at something, you sometimes can call your shots. Like, I know things are going to change, but I want over here. Don't put me over here. Right. When you're Michael Jordan or Scottie Pippen or, one of those, top 100 athletes, you can call your shots most of the time. So I was very clear about what I didn't want. I go to get my meeting. It was really weird because it was in this back room away from everything. It's actually a conference room I didn't even know we had. I get everything I didn't want, including a boss that I didn't respect or like. And let's be clear, he didn't like or respect me. So the hatred was equal both ways. I remember vividly within about 30 seconds going, well, I guess today's my last day. We agree to part ways and do a non-disclosure agreement where we don't disparage each other. I get a chunk of cash for, not saying bad things. I text Olivia, I'm coming home. I pick up a couple of family photos at my desk, leave everything else there, and don't come back. It was literally a 15 or 20-second lightning bolt. Like, you're done, stupid. Get out of here. Because my first thought is always fight, right? I'm like, I can go around him. I know the VP of sales. I know the CEO. I talk to them. They're like 10 feet from my desk. They tell me all the time they'll do whatever they can to keep me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, do I want that bloody battle? Because I might have won the war. Or I might have won the battle, but I would have lost the war, right? I could have stayed there, but my reputation would have been tattered. I would have called in every chip I had. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like any fun. That's like delaying the execution. Because basically what I'm saying is I didn't leave today, but you're going to fire me tomorrow because you're going to make shit up. And I'm like, no thanks. So I come home after having an amazing year, cashing some more big checks, thinking I was going to have another amazing year. So I get home. And again, this is what not to do. So I spend literally 48 hours calling everybody in my phone. Hey, I'm done, blah, 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 smiling. My face hurt. I smiled so much. And then you realize that there's not a lot of people that can go out with you. You realize that, after a week or so, You don't have anything to do. That energy, that juice you get from going to sales kickoff and quarterly business reviews isn't there. I start getting depressed for the first time in my life. I've never felt that way, depressed. I'm always glass half full. I'm always excited. I'm always fighting. I'm always charging ahead. And I start just feeling the weight of the world on me. So in order to fight that, I start calling a few people in my Rolodex and soft interviewing. Like, all right, could I do part-time? Could you pay me consulting? What could I do something? Because I didn't want to get a full-time job again because I thought that would be a failure. So lots of people offer me, 6 figures for different contracts and all of that. A couple of times got offered jobs, even though I didn't ask for one. I come home on the weekend, and I remember it was Saturday morning. I'm sitting at the kitchen table, and I'm depressed. I have people I need to respond to on Monday, and I'm like, you fucking moron. You've done this for 15 or 16 years. You don't need the money. You don't have any wants, needs, or desires above what you can already afford. What are you doing? What are you doing, idiot? So that was the moment that I decided to start drafting or outlining my book one rental at a time. It was that, like, I'm going to give this 30 or 45 days to write a book. And believe me, I never thought I would write a book, right? If anybody in my family was going to write a book, it was my sister or my dad. But the book, the outline goes, I give it away for free. Nobody reads it. A couple people, shout out Millennial Mike, actually read it. So I take it to the next step, publish it on Amazon. It's a wild success. From that, I find YouTube on a trip to Taiwan, again, being decompressed. I'm like, hey, this book is interesting. I can help people. So in the end, I frankly get lucky stumbling into what's now a brand, one rental at a time. Now something that I do 10 or 15 hours a week. That's enough for me to feel like I'm contributing. But yeah, dude, it was really scary. Being depressed, that's not a feeling I wish on anyone. And feeling like a failure, I don't. So again, retire to something, not from something. That 15 seconds felt good in the moment, but 2 days later, it was a slippery slope. So don't do what I did.
Well, what I like is you reached financial freedom. You had the option to do what happened in the moment, and then you found your something that you retired to.
Yeah, I got lucky, though.
There are people who return to work. So, Matt, you are, in my opinion, beyond financially free. Yes. Ready to retire at any point in time. You have a sense of loyalty to the company you work at. I battled with the same thing. Yes. You have young kids that you're still raising, currently 3 under 5, right? 3 kids under 5. And so you've got a plan for that. And I totally understand that you're still working. And you hear Mike's kind of mistake. And I'll wrap up at the end with, it wasn't a mistake. I think to me, it was the right way for me to do it.
Yeah.
But what are you retiring to?
A big successful real estate business. We're already putting systems and processes in place now to have me work in the business less, even though I know that it's what I'm retiring to. I want it to be even less. I want it to be Dion level less, where it can be managed from my phone, but I'm not needed every day. I think the biggest difference, and I'm excited to go through the journey with you, D, is when you're doing your project. So when you've got, I think we got another project underway, and so we're about $750,000 of active projects. You have that many active projects. It doesn't matter how good your GC is. It doesn't matter any of that stuff. You got to be involved. You got to be, and Mike knows, you're spending 20 hours a week just managing all of the things that come up as you get through it. Hey, we ripped down this wall. We found this. We opened up this. We found that. We need to do this because of that. We ordered this and we got half as much as we asked for. So I think that, ideally it's running, kind of having all of those projects done, having everything at that point stabilized. I'll still do additional projects, but that will be my pressure valve release when I need to do something. Because the biggest, most fun thing for me is I'm an older dad of kids that young. And so I love being around my kids. I'm around them every morning before school. I sometimes take them to school. I sometimes pick them up. And so I'm around my kids more than probably 90% of dads. But I look forward to having even more of that. That's that. And then teaching them more of the business and not having to do that necessarily only on weekends. Because right now we go out and we visit properties on weekends, and we make that part of our Saturdays after we've gone, yard sailing as a family together. So yeah, I'm looking to do just kind of more stuff like that, more of the stuff too, where it was like one of my friend's dads, retired earlier and decided to sell his company. And he had what we call the jump in the car syndrome. And it was just like, well, yeah, we're just going to go jump in the car. It's 3 hours away. Yeah, it's fine. We're just going to jump in the car. And I was like, dude. And he's like, yeah, we're just going to go jump in the car. So we used to call it the jump in the car syndrome. Yeah, we're just going to go jump in the car. And it would be 2 hours away, 3 hours away, 5 hours away. Dion suffers from this disease. And even being a truck driver and teaching that, your intestinal fortitude for really long trips continues to boggle the mind. Because it's like, oh yeah, so we just, jumped in the car and yeah, it was like 17 hours. I'm like, 17 hours.
No.
Like it's 17 minutes in the car. I'm kind of like, are we there yet? I'm asking the kids. So I think that, yeah. So one of the things that of many that I've learned from both of you is absolutely retiring to something. Dion was retiring to being a professional vacationer. And Mike was the same way. It was, did the YouTube thing. Like I enjoy the YouTube thing, but it's much more because of the feedback that I get from that. I know it's helping people. Yeah. It's not for the $196 I made from AdSense this month. It really comes down to all the people that it's like, hey, that made a real difference for me. Yeah, exactly. The gold and the gold and the black cards, your first deal and then each deal thereafter. So for me, it really is retiring something. It's retiring to being able to be more available for my kids, which I'm really available for, but even more available for my wife. Give her some spells, to be able to get some real time away. And she gets some, but I'd like to give her more. And that always will make us better. But yeah, that's what I think I'm retiring to. And probably like 7 minutes after it happens, I'll be thinking about the next business. But it's going to be, my effort there is going to be to delay it as long as I possibly can and just say, okay, we're not ready to start yet. Cause I am a serial entrepreneur and I'm really good at it and everything I do makes money. The only issue is how much money does it make? And there were 3 or 4 businesses that I had that actually made money that I stopped doing because they didn't make enough. And I was just like, it's just not worth my time. I'd rather do something else. Yeah. And so that's one of the biggest differences between you and I is you clearly are a serial entrepreneur. Yeah. And I'm a worker bee. I mean, we just see the world or the opportunities so different. I am okay and comfortable grinding, working like a hammer. Mm-hmm. And that's some of that stuff still is eye-opening, right? You read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I want to be Kim and Robert. You want to be Rich Dad. You and Greg Dickerson. It's just, I still don't see it. So I am jealous of you having that entrepreneur thing because I've stumbled into everything I've had post-work, right? And it's, to me, it feels okay, but I feel like if I was an entrepreneur, it could be even helping more people. I have no idea what I'm doing. Oh, there's been some really stupid, bad ideas. So yeah, I mean, it's like, and you put time, effort, energy, money into it. And you're just kind of like, you get it far enough. And you're modeling it out and you're like, what am I doing?
Absolutely doing this for 17 cents an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I know kids on television in those ads that make more money per hour than I do. Yeah. It's brutal.
Okay. I like that whenever we talk that there's a spectrum to investing and apparently to retiring early. There is recycling capital versus recycling cash flow. There is self-managing versus property management. There is local versus at a distance. There is large scale versus the least amount of units with the right amount of cash flow. Right? There's this whole thing. So, Mike, you've retired to something. You now have this passion to give back, and Matt is retiring to real estate and other entrepreneurial things. I'm in Mike's corner with, I'm not an entrepreneur. Yeah, I'm a worker bee. I make a great employee. I don't want to be an employee, but I make a great one. And so for the last decade, I started off as an instructor and I was slowly demoted down to the president of the company. So I ran the company and worked, 50, 60 hours a week. For the first 8 years of investing, I never took a vacation. I had 15 and 20-year-old cars, kind of like your guys' starter years. At the 8th year, after the income snowball kicked in, and I was about at the point where I could have retired, I worked for 4 more years because I actually did enjoy my job. I'm a good worker bee. But I took my first vacation. I took a month in Colombia. And then the next year I took a month in Thailand. And then the next year we had the pandemic. And the next year I took a month and drove around the country with my brothers. So I started taking a month or more vacations. And a vacation, if you've ever taken like 1 or 2 week vacations, I think they're the same. You travel, you try to relax, you travel back, and then you're wiped out from the vacation. But if you take a vacation for a month, here's what all 3 of my vacations were like. The first week, generally we're in a new area and we're like, oh, what is there to do here? What is there to explore? What should we experience while we're here? Because we might never be back. But after that week or two, now you have another couple of weeks of that vacation left. This free time. I just hadn't had. I'd never taken a vacation. So I sat with my brother, because I usually travel with him, and because no girl's going to put up with either one of us. And we said, tomorrow, here's the thing we're going to do. Whether it's a scuba dive, a parasail, a movie, name your whatever, zip line, something tomorrow that probably takes 2 to 4 hours to get there, to do it and get back. So that would plan out the entire day. And Matt nailed it. I retired once I realized what those next 2 weeks were like on a vacation, when the what do you want to do is over and you have all this time to do anything you want forever. You just pick something next day that you want to do. I retired to be the forever vacationer. So I'm coming up on a year of retired, and have not once ever been bored, not once ever thought, okay, I failed, I want to go back to work. Not once ever thought I want to start a new venture. I did not retire to do more real estate. I'm buying a property, and yes, Matt said it. I have my first like burr that's going to happen. I have a rehab that we're going to do, is help me with it, because I don't do that. And I'm not doing that because I'm retired now. I want to do that. It's just that's the best deal that popped up in my possible searches I had going up, because I had, buy all cash, buy for a house hack, buy for a burr that I'm going to house hack, and then the searches were going. One popped up that's a great deal, and I got it. But that's because it happened, not because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to grow YouTube. I'm with you guys I like the feedback of I met somebody through this platform. They studied, they learned, they took some action, they closed on their first deal. Like, I want to be a part of that.
That's right.
It's not to grow another revenue source. If this becomes, I have to do this to make revenue, I'm out.
Yeah.
I didn't retire to do more work. So there is a spectrum. And you need to find out where you are on that. Do you need productive, mission-oriented, outcome type of time spent? Or are you as lazy as me, and can you completely, thoroughly enjoy where you pick every day just something you want to go do, and the rest of the day is anything, not nothing. It's anything. Whatever happens that day, whoever calls and says, hey, let's go do this, that's what you go do. So if you're watching this video, let us know in the comments below. When you retire, or if you've retired, what are you retiring to? You can find Michael Zuber at One Rental at a Time here on YouTube, books, course, podcast. You can find Matt, the Lumberjack Landlord, here on YouTube and on Insta something. What is that? Instagram. There you go.
God.
Of course, I'm kidding. Thank you both. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.